Andrew Davey from Let's Talk Nevada, and we're here with Dan Johnson, the Executive Director of Tax Revolution Institute. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Great. So first off, why are you here in Southern Nevada this week?
Well, FreedomFest is, as they bill themselves, the largest gathering of free minds in the country.
Yeah.
And really, we've seen a lot at FreedomFest that leads us to believe that this is the largest gathering of free minds. And we want to reach out to both sides of the political spectrum. We're actually at Netroots. Our team is at Netroots, which is
In St. Louis.
In St. Louis, right, which is the family gathering of the left.
Yes.
So our team is at Netroots and FreedomFest because we're a nonpartisan organization, which is very rare in tax policy. And we're reaching out to both sides of the spectrum because we actually want to see some sort of tax revolution and tax reform instead of just playing partisan politics.
So what's the kind of tax revolution you want to see that could actually unite folks on the right who want to see less government and folks on the left who may want a stronger public sector?
See, you kind of frame it as, a left versus right thing, but really what it is there are a lot of areas the left and the right can agree on. They're representatives. I've been to several congressional hearings. Representatives, you might as well give them straws and spitballs and let them go at it. But really, left and right both agree that special interests should not run our government. That the tax code should be neutral. It shouldn't give, a bonus to this guy and a penalty to that guy. That the tax code should be fair. That the tax code should be simple and easier to understand so that Americans can actually choose what kind of taxes they want to pay instead of just looking at a 7,000 or 70,000 page tax code and wondering, well, exactly what am I paying here and what am I going to do? You shouldn't have to use an accountant to pay your taxes, for example. So there are a lot of areas the left and right can agree on. We haven't necessarily decided on a reform plan of how we want to see the tax code reformed, besides the fact that it needs to be predictable. So that someone needs to be able to go into a business transaction and predict what's going to come next instead of just hoping, like Yahoo, for example.
Yeah.
Yahoo tried to spin off Alibaba. They went to the IRS and they're like, so can we do this? And the IRS goes, give it a shot. Might work, might not. And so there needs to be a predictable business environment. It needs to be simple. It needs to be easier for people to understand. And it needs to be neutral. It needs to not give special interest handouts to different people. And other than that, we're starting with the IRS and we're working our way up to the tax code with our ultimate goal of replacing the tax code.
Are there any specific goals that you think, say, supporters of Ted Cruz and supporters of Bernie Sanders can agree on?
Any specific goals? I would say, yeah, absolutely. There's specific goals. Number one, we can all agree we want to have an accountable government. And one of the agencies that has proven itself above accountability for the past several decades is the Internal Revenue Service. So I can see that both sides very much agree on that goal. Also, when it comes to the tax code, like I talked about, neutrality.
Yeah.
That both sides agree you don't want special interests to own the tax code. For example, the Tea Party mainly started based on TARP, the bank bailouts, the same way Occupy started, based on the bank bailouts. So you had a special interest who essentially took over the government, and both sides that you generally consider right and left totally agree that special interest should not have that type of control. So there is a lot of areas that both sides, and now we have four sides, Green Party, Libertarian, Democrats, Republicans, that all sides can really agree on that we need to change the tax code, which is suffocating our country, which is suffocating economic growth. You have a lot of business owners nowadays who spend more of their time with tax attorneys and accountants than actually running their business. A study recently from, I want to say it was the Mercatus Center, basically said that we spend up to $1 trillion in tax compliance in this country. Forget all the penalties that associated for it. Just compliance over $1 trillion. Well, imagine if that went into a worker's minimum wage. How much better off would they be?